Liz Truss has resigned as British Prime Minister after just 44 days in office, making her the shortest serving leader in its history.
I came into office at a time of great economic and international instability. Families and businesses were worried about how to pay their bills. Putin's illegal war in Ukraine threatens the security of our whole continent, and our country has been held back for too long by low economic growth. I was elected by the Conservative Party with a mandate to change this. I recognise, though, given the situation, I cannot deliver the mandate on which I was elected by the Conservative Party.
Now, who to replace her? Former Finance Minister Rishi Sunak and Leader of the House of Commons Penny Mordaunt, top contenders for the role, but another one waiting in the wings. That man right there, former Prime Minister Boris Johnson, according to The Times this morning, will also put his hat into the ring for a second run at the top job. A new Conservative leader will be elected on Friday, October 28. Nominations to close Monday.
Candidates will be expected to have at least 100 colleagues nominating them. We will then go on to conduct whatever ballots are necessary during the course of Monday. And when we reach 2 final candidates, we will also conduct an indicative ballot.
Joining us live now from London is Sky's UK political correspondent, Amanda Akass. Amanda, good to see you this evening, your time. Thank you so much. So, I mean, it was always going to happen, this, I suppose, and now she has the unenviable title, Liz Truss here, of being the shortest-serving British PM in history.
Yes, indeed, and fittingly, perhaps because of that unfortunate title, her resignation speech, when it finally came, was very brief and to the point. She was only in charge for 44 days, which is less time than she spent campaigning to get the top job this summer. Her position, as you say, had become increasingly untenable, with MPs across the party publicly calling for her to go, a pile-up of no-confidence letters being sent in, and a chaotic day in Parliament yesterday, which culminated in the resignation of her Home Secretary and a big row over a confidence vote in Parliament as well. Now, she was forced to ditch nearly her entire policy platform after the disastrous response to those policies in the mini budget a few weeks ago, which led to the markets in complete turmoil, the pound plummeting, interest rates going up. So she had to ditch all of that, bring in a new chancellor. And when that happened, many MPs were questioning what exactly she stood for. But the party are clearly in chaos. Earlier this year, they obviously lost Boris Johnson after a series of scandals. Now they're facing the prospect of yet another leadership campaign.
And who are the front runners?
Well, that's the big question. There was some talk, I think fairly overly optimistic talk, that the very bitterly divided factions in the party might unite around some kind of unity candidate to kind of calm the waters and resolve the sense of chaos that we've been living through in recent weeks. I don't think that is looking terribly likely. I've spent this afternoon in the House of Commons Central Lobby. We've been hearing from MPs across the party championing various different candidates. The front runner perhaps is Rishi Sunak, who's the former chancellor. He was the man who came second to Liz Truss during the leadership campaign, although he was much more popular than her among MPs. But ultimately, the party members get the final vote and they chose Liz Truss. Pretty much all of his predictions about what Liz Truss's fairly radical economic policies would do to the economy came true. He said it would lead to an inflationary spiral and she was living in fantasy land. So many people see him as being redeemed, but he's also seen as the person who, by resigning when he did, stabbed Boris Johnson in the back and precipitated his downfall. Then the person who came third in the last leadership campaign was Penny Mordaunt. She's a very popular figure among the party. She stood in for Liz Truss a couple of days ago at the dispatch box and put in a very confident performance with the memorable line telling MPs that Liz Truss wasn't hiding under a desk somewhere. Then there's a few other candidates as well from across the party who previously stood potentially. We could be looking at people like Kemi Badenoch, Suella Braverman, a couple of names from the right of the party too. Overshadowing all of them, though, is the prospect of Boris Johnson. Many of the MPs and indeed party members feel very aggrieved that he left when he did. They'd like him to come back, but he left after a whole series of scandals. He's still being investigated by a committee of MPs. He's currently away on holiday in the Caribbean, but I think it's the prospect of Boris Johnson potentially making the final few nominations to be voted on by the members that is really setting tongues wagging tonight.
Yeah, not much of a holiday for him anymore, I would have thought. Amanda, thank you. We'll talk to you again soon. Appreciate that.